Finish her. Fatality. Pupcorn wins.
So we are talking about the newest one from 2021.
Not to be confused with the one from like 1995.
Yeah, it was like 1995. So this movie is kind of special to me. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan.
I've played the games, but I was always more of a Street Fighter Smash Brothers guy.
Okay. Whereas like growing up, we had a Sega that had like maybe 4 games, and Mortal Kombat was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother used to play together all the time. It was how we settled arguments.
Yeah.
Whoever won the battle won the fight, like in real life. So, probably not the best way to solve our issues, but we were children, so so be it. Now the movie from 1995 was really cheesy.
Yes.
Something that made Mortal Kombat so unique in its time frame was the blood.
Yes.
How gory the game was.
Yeah, the violence was its selling point.
Yeah, it was not marketed as a family-friendly game. It was violent. It was literally you fight to the death in an arena. Like, there's not much else to it.
The killing blow between getting it on Sega Genesis or Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo was like, ooh, let's remove
no
the blood.
And
so
Sega was like, oh, the blood!
Sega's like, get the blood in. So if you have a brain in your skull, and I love Nintendo, but like that was a bad call.
Yeah, it was bad.
I
for that type of game.
Like,
now,
Sega
for this
Genesis.
review, something to keep in mind, I've only ever played the Sega version. I didn't follow the game through all of its stages when it started really developing the lore, when it really started developing the characters and the storyline. I played it as a fighter game on Sega Genesis.
Yeah. This video will be like night and day between me talking about Castlevania Van Helsing and me talking about Mortal Kombat.
Right.
I like it. It's cool. That's the extent. Whereas
I did really enjoy Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know as much about it as like some of the super fans, but I was really looking forward to this movie because the 1995 version, it was really good, but it really did follow that Nintendo mindset of not a lot of blood. You might have had someone get a nosebleed when they were hit in the face, but like we didn't see any of the fatalities. We would see like someone falling off a cliff and then we would just hear fatality. Like there was no Mortal Kombat in the Mortal Kombat movie. Now it did follow a lot of the same premises of like having the characters and the way that they look, the way that they behaved.
There was only one thing about the original cheesy movie that I liked better than this movie.
What was that?
That was the chemistry between characters. I felt it was Liu Kang, Sonya, and Johnny Cage had a lot better chemistry than the characters in this movie. It was just Kano. And sometimes Sonya would do good, and sometimes Cole would chip in.
Yeah.
But, like, there wasn't a nice dynamic to be like, oh, boy, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm just like...
See, whereas I feel like sometimes that awkwardness really helped the movie.
Okay.
Not to kind of, like, take it away from the game. So not comparing it to the game, but as a standalone film on its own without game comparison. The plot that they used are these people are showing up all over the world.
Yes.
So if they had chemistry, it wouldn't necessarily be as believable because these people don't know each other.
Right.
Technically, they're supposed to fight each other.
Yeah.
Like, if you are going to compare it to the game, like, Sonya and Jax aren't BFFs from the army. Like, they fight each other. So I feel like if they had a really strong chemistry with one another, it would add to maybe like a heart-wrenching sense of like, oh no, friends eventually fighting each other. Because they do leave the film open at the end. It gets a lot of hate that I don't think it deserves.
It's, like, I just found it as like a decent, okay movie.
It's a cheesy fighting movie. It's a cheesy game adaptation movie. Like,
this is kind of like how I felt with Mortal Kombat was kind of like how you felt with Van Helsing.
Okay.
I was kind of like,
where it's just like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I see where it's going. Like, my favorite part was the opening with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. That was so much better than like anything else the movie was.
Really the samurai feeling.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like that's one of the biggest critiques it gets is that it was almost like a bait and switch.
Okay.
Where, like, it baits you with the samurai feeling, and then you go to, like, a cage fighter.
Yeah.
Especially the cage fighter who's not a character in the game.
Yeah.
That is the biggest complaint, is people are like, well, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Who's he? And I don't necessarily hate that. I think that it's fine that they made a new character. Like, Mortal Kombat on its own has so many characters. So it's like, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that they made their own.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be a part of a lineage.
Yeah.
So whereas it would have been, it was kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like,
yeah.
They made him his own character, and people were like, well, that's not canon. He's not in the game.
Because in the original movie, it was Liu Kang who was the main character.
So, and then if you made it so that he was a different character, but he was the lineage of Scorpion, people would be like, well, that's not canon. So it's kind of like, for what they wanted to do with the film, it made more sense to make his own character. So Cole isn't actually one of the canon characters of the game. So, and he's the main character in this film.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I think it was well put together. I quite enjoyed the storyline. The only thing that was a little confusing to me in the beginning was I didn't know that the girl was Cole's daughter.
Okay.
So, like, that didn't really hit, because he doesn't look old enough to have a daughter that age.
Okay.
Which, I mean... He uses exfoliation. I don't know.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that I really enjoyed the way that the characters interacted with each other. Even though it wasn't, like, that instant chemistry that the original one had.
Okay.
Like, I enjoyed the Sonya Kano plot, where it's like...
Yeah.
The whole time he's picking at her like, oh, you don't have a mark. You don't have one. You want mine. Like...
Yep.
And... she eventually does get his.
Yeah, she gets her quirk.
So it's... Yeah, she earns her quirk.
Earns her quirk.
She goes beyond 100. But, like, I didn't hate it. I really, really loved how they...
I didn't hate it either. And, like, as someone who really liked Sub-Zero, he was the best.
I loved what they did with
everything
Sub-Zero.
with Sub-Zero. Like, it was almost like a horror movie.
Oh, my God, it was
so
good.
You'd see ice on the window, and you'd be like, oh, shit.
Here he is. And I also really loved that it wasn't necessarily like a Michael Myers moment.
Okay.
Where, like, he's just there, and then everyone's running around crazy, and then he just shows up somewhere else. Like... It didn't have that type of horror movie vibe for me, even though he did the same thing.
Right.
So he would just kind of like show up like, I'm here now, bitch. But like, it was, it was so good. Like, I don't know. I really loved the way that they did Sub-Zero and how he was almost overpowered. Like,
almost.
Everyone that he faced just ate shit.
Yeah.
The entire time. And then, I mean, spoilers.
Yeah.
Already.
We'll get into spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
Scorpion.
It's kind of hard not to.
Battles through hell.
Yeah, like
for like
he
an
literally
awesome tag team finale.
Like by the end, and Scorpion just like comes up out of hell, and Sub-Zero's like, oh no, and it's finally like a fair fight, and it's so badass to see the two fight together. And as soon as you said it, I get like I can't unhear it now. Is the entire time Scorpion speaks Japanese.
Yes.
It just, like, he's Japanese. That's the whole point of the opening. And even when he comes back, he's all Japanese until he goes, come here! Like,
get over here!
Perfect English.
Yep.
And now I can't unhear it, and it's really funny. But I very much enjoy how they, like, incorporated Jax getting his arms because Sub-Zero, like, freezes them and they, you know, it cauterizes them. So it makes sense on a science level. Yeah. Like, it's not one of those plot hole movie films where you're just like, wait a minute. I don't know. And I do enjoy that Sub-Zero was the main villain.
Yeah. He wasn't the leader, but he was the main antagonist of the movie.
And, because he was my favorite to play as. Like, I always loved playing
Scorpion was always mine.
Oh, it's on. We're going to play after this, just so you all
might.
know. But I don't, what were your thoughts? Because we watched the 95 version together. I fell asleep.
I thought the fighting was better in the newer one. The story as a whole was better than the newer one.
Yeah.
Cinematography. The only thing I prefer in the original was like those characters.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing more of those characters, whereas these I was just like, Scorpion's gonna show up, right?
Yeah. Well, I know like,
so I was just like
the big thing was everyone was like, is Cole Johnny Cage? Like, because he's a cage fighter. You know, in the very beginning, like, he's a boxer, cage fighting, like
this Liu Kang was kind of like, sure. This Sonya was kind of like, all right.
Liu Kang. I don't know. I think that he was like, I think he did well.
This Raiden, I was kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
Whereas there was just something the original had with those characters.
See, like, I don't know if it was just the cheesiness.
I guess it added to it. I don't know.
This one might have just been.
It could also just chalk it up to nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's a 90s movie.
Yeah.
It was a big part of my life.
Really nostalgic.
So, like, maybe that's the reason. But I just felt like those characters were more memorable than these guys. They didn't really get along.
Yeah.
And, like, that was the point. But, like, okay, then why do I care? I care about Scorpion's struggle. I mean,
that's
but I don't much care about anyone else's struggle.
It makes me wonder if that's the whole point, is, like, we're leading up to see everyone else, like, fumbling around, trying their best, and essentially almost failing.
Yeah.
Just to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So because that was, like, the star of the movie.
Yeah.
Is to watch those two fight.
Yes.
And then, like, occasionally Cole would step in with his, like, nifty little arm blades.
Yeah.
And help out. But, I mean, really,
it's all about Scorpion. Who is Cole? A descendant of Scorpion. The movie opens with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So that's the entire conflict of the movie. Whereas the original, as cheesy as it is, the entire conflict is, like, the dude killed Liu Kang's brother.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a little more personal with that character who you follow with. And he's a part of this competition, and Sonya and Liu Kang are part of the competition, and they're just trying to get through the competition, and Raiden is preparing them.
Yeah.
So it's just more cohesive to where, like, the characters have more time together, to where they can develop.
I think this one, it feels like it was more about family. Like, it was more about family, because Cole is, the whole reason that he accepts is to save his family. Mm-hmm. He leaves his family to protect them, which, again, is an arc that I don't necessarily care for in every single movie, but it worked here because what else is he going to do? Right. They're going to keep coming for him.
Exactly.
So he leaves to train, and then when he decides, like, he can't do it, he goes home, and then that's the moment where he's like, he has the light bulb moment because his family is in danger.
Yeah.
So in the fact that, like, it's all about the lineage. He was adopted. He never knew his family. And then he keeps having these, like, flashbacks and these moments where he's remembering these past, not necessarily past lives, but his past family. Yeah. So, and then essentially for Scorpion to come and show up and see the exact image of his, like, lineage's family frozen in ice, and then he has that memory of, like, his wife and his son frozen in ice, and he's like, not today.
Right.
You know, I think it does tie in, even though the middle is kind of jumbly.
Yeah. The middle is where I was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, but I definitely think it's worth it.
I just feel it was a trade-off. Like, the original didn't have that good action. This one has fantastic action. The original compensated for that lack of action with, like, memorable and loving characters. This one, I like Scorpion, and Kano's fun to watch. That's it. And Sub-Zero is cool as shit.
Yeah.
Other than those three, you could take or leave any other character.
I feel like Sonya was pretty badass. Like, she had her couple of moments where she was just, like, cool, where you're like,
I'll give you Sonya.
But, like, Jax, I can agree. I don't think Jax was all that likable.
Jax, just because Raiden,
he had, like,
Liu Kang.
Well, I feel like it was, and forgive me, I know this is probably gonna upset you, but for Jax, I feel like it was the toxic, like, masculinity, where he was like, oh, my little tiny mechanical arms, and then he, like, wasn't happy until he got, like, these big-ass buff mechanical arms, and he was like, I am Jax, and I'm just like, dude, they're the same power, they're just a little bit bigger, like,
okay.
But him as a character, I feel like he was kind of forgettable. Right. Overall, like, he had the cool part in the beginning where he's like, get your family out of here, and, like, allowed Cole to get away. But other than that, I was just kind of like, meh.
Right.
You know, it is what it is with him.
Well, we can both agree, I don't think you've seen this one, but it's much better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that was the follow-up to the Mortal Kombat 90s movie. It is awful.
Oh.
It is awful.
But yeah, I think...
And it has Emperor Shao Kahn, so you're like, oh ho ho! He sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bad movie.
But I think overall, this movie, it's cheesy. Like, it's Mortal Kombat. It's going to be cheesy.
Yeah, so for me,
you know, it's
worth a walk.
I would take it for a walk as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I would take it for a walk if certain things were tweaked. Maybe sleep at the foot of the bed.
Yeah. I feel like Castlevania spoiled me with being an excellent video game adaptation.
But, like, this one,
I go back to Mortal Kombat and I'm like, fine.
I feel like this one, if you pull that piece of your brain out that's, like, the video game compared to the video game, if you shut that down, it's fantastic. It really is a well put together movie. It's beautiful. Like, the graphics are phenomenal. Sub-Zero, he's got to see a chiropractor for carrying that movie on his back. But
yeah,
you know, that character alone, him and Scorpion, are just worth watching it.
Yeah, worth watching it,
because they those actors, so good. They just did so good.
But like, I pull to you because the more you talked about the movie, the more I actually remembered the other characters.
Yeah.
Because I only remember Cole being in there,
right,
as just like the generic underdog, and Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
It's very easy.
I don't remember.
I do think that it's like an in the moment film. Like, if you're bored one night and you just want to like watch a decent movie, but you don't want to like powwow about it, like go online into forums and like learn more. I mean, it's a great movie to just chill out and watch. If you compare it to the games and things like that, yeah, probably not the best. Yeah. Because it does take its own like creative liberties. But overall, like,
they're doing more movies, though. Yeah. Supposedly.
I think personally it was a good move that they didn't make him Johnny Cage, and that they're also using Johnny Cage as like a teaser.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the parallel that they put there, because now it's going to be easier to pull Johnny Cage into the next film.
Yeah.
Because you're sending another fighter.
I'm curious to see Shao Kahn, because they need to do that boy right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't dislike it. I don't know. I think that it was still, like I said, don't think about the video game. Just sit, enjoy it. Definitely worth a walk. Let us know what you thought of it. If it was a good adaptation to you, if you like it better or worse than the 90s movie, and who your favorite Mortal Kombat character is.
Yeah. Let us know down below. Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Toodles.